Michael in back. Oh. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to try and speak up for those of you in the back, but welcome to the union of Brian Strike and Aubrey Boring. Aubrey, you look absolutely radiant. Brian, you look smashing. Firstly, I wanted to thank you all on behalf of the couple for joining us here in beautiful Sonoma. I think we should take an opportunity to look around where we're at. I know most of us are from the Bay Area, but there are people who have traveled as far as Tennessee and Florida and even London to be here today. So welcome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael, and I could not be more honored to be standing here between these two as they express their devotion towards each other, surrounded by all you loved ones. Now, Brian and I have known each other for the better part of our lives, and we've played on the same sports teams. We've been to school with each other up until college, and of course we've gone out to no end, like the world was ending tomorrow. The fondest memory I have of Brian is actually when I went away to college and Brian visited me in Boston, and we went to my school's football game and we were playing Notre Dame. And as we were about to pull the upset, Brian and I were about to rush the field with all the other students, and all of a sudden the whistle blew and Brian and I are jumping up and down. And at that moment I actually knew what a true friend was. It's essentially one on-field celebration with one of your best buddies, and I couldn't be more honored to be here standing before you two. So, I've known Aubrey for probably a good amount of time, for 13 years, and every time I came home from the East Coast, one of those times I actually got a chance to meet Aubrey, and she's actually become one of my closest friends. So, Aubrey, I love you.
Okay, go on.
I think we're all aware that Brian and Aubrey are a perfect match for one another, but who could have predicted we'd be standing here, years later celebrating their union. They've been together so long that I automatically think of them as pretty much married. So today's ceremony really just affirms something we already knew to be true. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the circumstances by which they met is actually quite interesting. They met through mutual friends, and soon after, Brian moved to North Carolina, and Aubrey came out to visit, and they actually had their first date there. And a couple choices later, and I'm sure after a couple drinks, Aubrey decided to move out to North Carolina for Brian. So, talk about the guts on this girl. After she moved out there, I think they quickly discovered that they actually had a lot in common. In addition to friends, there was North Carolina athletics, beer and wine, great food, and of course their penchant for visiting exotic places around the world. 13 years later, 8 time zones, 2 states, and countless evenings out together, they ultimately decided that now was a better time than any to solidify their union. Their engagement shouldn't have been much of a surprise, but in reality it was. I don't know about you guys, but I actually found out about their engagement at dinner right before they were moving to London. Brian nonchalantly drops the bomb on all of us, on all his friends, and I have to say, even though I knew they were going to be together, I think that it's still a surprise when you see 2 of your closest friends come together. And seeing how happy they are, and needless to say, celebratory shots were flowing that evening. So here we are, acknowledging and supporting their decisions. From the moment you see Brian and Aubrey together, you notice a few simple, elegant qualities that make their union so special. They have a fun, loving relationship that is beautiful, unique, and magnetic. I'm always amazed, how they are, when they're together. They're a team. They complement each other, to no end. It's a borderline, rom-com here, but I know they're not the romantic comedy type. So let's just call them a rare steak and a nice full-bodied cab, right? I know they're both wine lovers, so. They make each other laugh constantly. To the uninitiated, they may look like they're fighting and arguing, but in jest, it's all in jest. Brian is always up for anything, and Aubrey has no shortage of foolish yet fun ideas. Through all of this, Brian finds her outlook on life refreshing, and she loves his adventurous side. After all, they moved to London months ago, almost without warning. They help one another grow as individuals, supporting each other in their personal goals and aspirations. And together as one, they are much stronger than the sum of their parts. Time and time again, they both go out of their way, to help their friends, from providing a late night drink or a couch to crash on, or, providing honest advice to all of us. They genuinely care about us. This love and life, this love for life and friends, as well as the support offered to one another, are key foundational pillars that will ensure a long-lasting, fruitful relationship. Standing here before you all, I do feel a little obligated to give some sort of advice. Now, I'm no marriage expert, so in lieu of that, I'm going to offer up some cheesy wedding quotes. Some of the greatest authors have tried, sometimes in vain, to perfectly capture the essence of love and truth. John Steinbeck once said, "A journey is like marriage. The certain way to be wrong is to think you control it." The legendary Dr. Seuss said, "You know you're in love when you don't want to fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams." And when Piglet asked, "How do you spell love?" Winnie the Pooh replied, "You don't spell it, you feel it." I think the message that these quotes are trying to convey is, it's simple. To continue to let love and life happen as you guys have been doing. That love in your marriage is really the start of something greater for you two. Marriage shouldn't be about looking at each other, but also looking in the same direction together. You may not know what's coming, but whatever's in store for you two, I'm sure you guys will go to it laughing. And now for the official part of the ceremony, which the power of the internet has granted me. A blessing of marriage. Marriage lends permanence and a public shape to your love. Your vows are made to each other, but as importantly, they are also made before the world. Marriage is about partnership and sharing, and has less to do with getting everything perfect than with loving someone for who they really are, their faults as well as their virtues. Today is not even the first step, but the middle of a journey that started years ago. Today is about the roads you will take and your commitment to do so together. Today is but a brief slice of your life. Marriage is risking who you are for the sake of who you can be. Your lives will change, your responsibilities will increase, but your joy, your being, your understanding will be multiplied if you are sincere and true to one another. Today you declare these things to each other before family and friends. Brian, do you take Aubrey to be your wife? Do you promise to believe in her, love, respect, encourage, flatter, and cherish her, to not get mad at her driving, pour her endless glasses of amazing wine, maybe even buy her flowers or a pair of shoes from time to time, and stand beside her as a protector, a comforter, and best friend no matter where life takes you? And Aubrey, do you take Brian to be your husband? Do you promise to challenge him, to love, respect, encourage, and maybe even wind him up, to always root for the University of North Carolina athletics unconditionally, to let him win most arguments just because you know it's not worth continuing, and stand beside him as a giver, a comforter, and best friend no matter where life takes you?
I do.
Now Brian and Aubrey will exchange rings as a symbol of their life together. Brian, do you take Aubrey's hand in marriage for life or longer?
I do.
There you go. And Aubrey, do you take Brian's hand in marriage for life or longer?
I do. We got it.
It's not coming off.
Got that right.
By the power of your promises and the truths we've shared here today, and in the presence of all these wonderful family and friends, I am happy to pronounce Brian and Aubrey as husband and wife. Okay, two, let's seal the deal here. I know you guys want to get to the party, and Aubrey, you can kiss your groom.
Yay!
Family and friends, I'm honored to be the first person to present to you the newly married couple, Brian and Aubrey Strike.